Hello and welcome to another FPL Advice video. Today we're going to take a look at a lot of different players and their statistics so far this year to help you pick the perfect wildcard team heading into Game Week 8. If you do end up liking this video, if you wouldn't mind, please hit that like button and also subscribe to the channel to support FPL Advice. When it comes to goalkeepers, there are a lot of great options heading into Game Week 8. Goalkeepers really are a preference. You're either a safe FPL manager and you like going for a premium goalkeeper to kind of just get you clean sheets every single week, or you're like me and you do like going for a 4.5 million goalkeeper with the best fixtures, hoping that he not only gets you some clean sheets, but also a lot of bonus points due to the saves he has to make. As you can see, Ederson, over the course of 7 games, he has only faced 8 shots on target so far. So clearly there's no room for him to get a lot of bonus points. But if you look at Meslier, he's had to face 41 shots on target. But because of that, he's only kept 1 clean sheet and is averaging 2.71 points per game. I like Mendy mostly since he's the second most nailed Chelsea player alongside Rudiger. He is a little bit more expensive than Rudiger, and I can't see him getting many save points in the upcoming fixtures. But if you are looking for a premium goalkeeper to simply get you clean sheets, I do think he's a great option, and I do think he's the best option when it comes to a premium goalkeeper. He's also saved 86.4 of the shots on target he's faced, which is second best on this list. Jose Sa looks really interesting as well because not only does he have the potential to get some clean sheets in the upcoming fixtures, he also has the opportunity to get some bonus points due to the saves he has to make. Wolves have only kept 2 clean sheets so far this year, so obviously there is a risk if you do end up going for Jose Sa. As I mentioned already, my personal preference is to go for cheap goalkeepers who have the potential to get you clean sheets, but also have the potential to get you bonus points due to all the saves that they have to make. And the 2 goalkeepers that I think are best are Raya and Ramsdale due to Arsenal's and Brentford's fixtures. Ramsdale has helped transform Arsenal's defense. Since he's been in goal, Arsenal have kept 3 clean sheets out of the 4 games. He has the highest save percentage out of any goalkeeper on this list and really the highest in the league this year. The only player who has a higher save percentage is Kepa Arrizabalaga, but again, Kepa has only featured in 1 game so far, and he had to face 2 shots on target and he saved both of them, and because of that he has 100% save percentage. So I don't think you can really compare the two. Because of that, Ramsdale does have the highest save percentage this year. I personally was forced to wildcard in Game Week 7 due to a terrible defense that I had, but I did go for Ramsdale as my goalkeeper and I'm very happy with it. As for Raya and Brentford, they have really come into the Premier League to compete. I mean, Raya has been outstanding this year, saving 18 shots on target out of the 23 he's faced. He has a save percentage of 78.3%, and Brentford's fixtures are really great after the Chelsea game and Game Week 8. If you look at the FPL app fixture difficulty from Game Week 9 to Game Week 16, all their games are a rating of 2 or 3. So again, really great fixtures, which makes Raya a great candidate for a goalkeeper for your Game Week 8 wildcard. When it comes to defenders, I think everybody will be going for Chelsea and Man City defenders. I've included only Diaz, Cancelo, FPL Gw8 and Rudiger on this list because I do think that they're not only the best options, but also the safest picks. As we saw over the weekend, Alonso is not necessarily nailed. Chilwell did start, so because of that, I don't think you should consider bringing Alonso or Chilwell in. It's simply too risky when you can bring in Rudiger or FPL Gw8 or both, and you know that they're going to get you clean sheets and potentially some attacking returns. And I think the biggest and most challenging decision anybody wildcarding in Game Week 8 will have to make is to go with or without Trent. In my Game Week 7 wildcard, I opted out and I went with Cancelo, Diaz, Rudiger, FPL Gw8 and Livramento as my 5 defenders. I simply didn't want to risk having him potentially be out for Game Week 8, and as you can see, Game Week 9 is not the greatest fixture either. So if I know he's fit by Game Week 10, I might consider bringing him back into my team. The defensive standouts are obviously Trent and Cancelo with the highest points per game and the highest expected goal involvement. But I also think you can add FPL Gw8 to this list because as you can see, he's had 16 touches in the penalty box and is up there with Cancelo when it comes to goal involvement. I think if Reece James is not back by Game Week 8, he will continue to play that right wing back spot where he can get many attacking returns. And if Reece James does come back by Game Week 8, Azpilicueta will simply play center back, so we know he's still going to play. One player I think every Game Week 8 wildcard should have in their team is Livramento, as Southampton can easily get a few clean sheets due to the easy fixtures that they have. And he's also the cheapest defender in FPL that gets 90 minutes week in and week out, and also gets a lot of attacking potential. He's had 8 penalty touches, he's created 6 chances, and has an expected goal involvement of 0.71. Livramento is the perfect bench defender this year. There's no one better than him. I think that no matter what happens, and if a defender gets hurt or a midfielder gets hurt, I would be happy if he came into my team from the bench, as he has the potential to get clean sheets in the next upcoming fixtures. I think Duffy is a great option, especially if you decide to go with only 3 premium defenders. I think having him and Livramento on the bench, or having both of them kind of rotate between who gets to play as the 4th defender every single week, is definitely a smart way to go about it, as they do have pretty good fixtures and Duffy has been phenomenal this year. I wanted to include Semedo on this list just to kind of show you that there are better options than Wolves defenders. Semedo, who we think is the most attacking defender for Wolves. As you can see, his underlying stats are not that great. Although Wolves could keep a couple clean sheets in the next upcoming fixtures, I don't think they're going to get you a lot of attacking returns, so I personally would avoid Wolves defenders. And lastly, Jansen is an outstanding option, especially if you do not go for Raya as your goalkeeper. Brentford have amazing fixtures from game week 9 to game week 16, so having him on your team, you might not only get some clean sheets, but potentially attacking returns. As you can see, his underlying stats this year have been really, really good. As for midfielders, you might notice that I've excluded Everton midfielders from this list, but that is only because I think it is best to look at them separately, to simply compare Doucouré, Gray, and Townsend, and to see which one out of the 3 is the best option for your Game Week 8 wildcard. But outside of Everton midfielders, the only midfielder who I truly believe is essential is Mo Salah. I mean, he's in the form of his life. He's only blinked once so far this year. He's averaging 10 points per game. I think that every FPL manager should have him in their team. Other than Salah, all of these midfielders are great options. I think for Foden, we don't necessarily have enough data to compare him with everyone else on this list, but in the 3 appearances he's featured in so far this year, he's been great. And now he's back and fit, and we see him starting almost every single game. So I think he's a great option. Grealish is another City player I think you should consider. He's had 40 touches in the box, which is 4 less than Salah. He's created 17 chances, which is 4 more than Mo Salah. With Burnley, Brighton, Crystal Palace next, and De Bruyne and Foden being back, he will either get many returns, which will make him a standout pick, or he will simply get rotated. It is risky, but I do think he is a player you should consider. Saka and Smith Rowe are both players I think you should consider. I actually have both of them in my team when I wildcarded in game week 7. I do wish I went with Mbemo instead of Smith Rowe. Arsenal have really turned things around from the poor start of the season. I think they can really continue with performing well over the next 4 to 6 games. Rafinha is now owned by 20% of FPL managers, and it's rightly so. He has an expected goal involvement of 2.6 and has scored 3 goals already. With the fixtures that Leeds have, and hopefully the return of Bamford soon, I think he can perform even better starting in game week 8. One thing to note, he was called up by Brazil, so we are unsure whether he will be back before the game week 8 game. So that is something you need to consider, whether you do decide to go with or without him. Mbemo has been so good this year. He has an expected goal involvement of 3.74 and has netted 2 goals already. I think after the Chelsea game, for 5.5 million, he might be the best player in that price point, due to Brentford's fixtures from game week 9 to game week 16. Son has netted 3 goals and has 1 assist so far this year. He's averaging 7 points per game so far, and I think he's being very overlooked by many FPL managers, myself included. As you can see, he's only owned by 12.9% of FPL managers. I think the fixtures that Spurs have aren't necessarily very great, but they're still fixtures that Son can get many returns in, so I do think he's someone you should consider. Lastly, Benrahma, who is now owned by 37.1% of FPL managers. He's averaging 6.2 points per game, and as we have seen, he can continue to get you returns no matter who West Ham play. As promised, Everton's big 3, over 350,000 FPL managers have already transferred in Doucouré, Gray, or Townsend in game week 8. Most notably Townsend, with 210,000 FPL managers transferring him in. Comparing the 3, I personally think Townsend or Gray are the best options based on the amount of penalty touches Gray has had and based on the amount of chances Townsend has created. They both have a similar expected goal involvement, while Doucouré only has an expected goal involvement of 1.09. I think it's hard to predict which out of the 3 players will perform best in the upcoming fixtures, But I think if it was me, I would go for Townsend as he's the cheapest and has the best underlying stats. Up top, there are many different options people are now considering. Vardy has now scored 5 goals. Hwang just scored 2 goals and picked up 3 bonus points in the last game, so he becomes a potential steal at 5.6 million. Lukaku has now blanked in the last 3 games he's played, but that honestly does not put me off because of the fixtures that Chelsea have. I think he should remain in everyone's teams, and I do think that he should be in your Game Week 8 wildcard team. He has the second best expected goal involvement on this list and has the easiest fixtures in the next 4 games. I'd be surprised if he doesn't score 3 to 4 goals against these teams. Ronaldo was benched last game, which obviously created a lot of uncertainty on whether it was simply a 1-game rest or whether he's going to be rotated with Cavani. I personally wouldn't go for him if I was wildcarding Game Week 8 because by going for him, Lukaku, and Mo Salah, you really wouldn't have a lot of funds to be able to get those City and Chelsea defenders. Wolves have finally hit the ball rolling, and Jimenez and Hwang look like the perfect partnership. Jimenez does have the largest sample of data, so his stats really do pop out. But I think at 5.6 million, Hwang can be a steal as long as he continues to start every single game. Wolves have really great fixtures, so I definitely think one of these 2 players should be making it into your team. As I mentioned already, Vardy has now 5 goals this season. He's not slowing down. He has the second highest points per game on this list, but Leicester's fixtures are not easy. Menu will be a tough match, and I don't think Brentford or Arsenal will be easy either. He's certainly someone to consider, but at 10.4 million, and with those fixtures, I'm not sure he'd be someone I'd look to bring into my team if I was wildcarding. Ivan Toney is growing in ownership yet again. It took him a few weeks, but he's finally getting returns, and he can be a phenomenal option from Game Week 9 to Game Week 16. For 6.3 million, getting a striker who's on penalties and has really good fixtures is obviously a steal. Saint Maximin is the 4th highest forward owned on this list, averaging 5.29 points per game. Although he's been great so far this year, the fact that Newcastle have Spurs, Chelsea, and Brighton in the next 4 games, I don't think those are fixtures he can really thrive in. So if I was wildcarding in Game Week 8, I would avoid him. And the last forward to mention is Antonio, who's had 9 returns so far this year, 5 goals and 4 assists. He's averaging 8.17 points per game and has an expected goal involvement of 5.21. Yet another player in the form of his life. I do get scared owning him because the fixtures aren't particularly easy. He's of course known for injuries. I think regardless of all of that, he should still be in everyone's draft because going without him could potentially really hurt you if he does continue to perform like this. So if I was wildcarding in Game Week 8, this is what my team would look like. Ramsdale would be in goal. As I already mentioned, I like going for the cheap goalkeeper with the best fixtures, and then Foster would be my backup. In the back, I would double up on Chelsea and City defense, going with Osby, Rudiger, Cancelo, Diaz, and then of course having Livramento as my 5th bench option in case someone does end up getting hurt. In midfield, I would go with Mbemo, who would be benched in Game Week 8 against Chelsea, but would rotate with Saka or Townsend starting in Game Week 9. Saka, I think he's a great option due to Arsenal's fixtures, and with his price point, I think it can really get you decent returns starting Game Week 8. Rafinha does make my team, but again, he's someone you will need to monitor to make sure that Bielsa confirms that he will play in Game Week 8. If he does not, obviously he would have to be switched for someone else. And of course, we have Mo Salah and then Townsend, as I already mentioned. I think he's the best option for an Everton midfielder. And up top, I would go for Antonio, Jimenez, and Lukaku. Again, I don't want to go without Antonio because of the season that he's had so far. And if he continues to perform like this, I don't want to miss out on that. Lukaku has such easy fixtures that I truly believe he can get 3, 4, maybe even 5 goals in the next 4 games. And he's the perfect captaincy option, so he's a player I don't want to not have in my wildcard team. And to finish off the team, I would go with Jimenez because Wolves have really caught a rhythm. He's starting to pick up his form. Their fixtures are great, and he's also on penalties. Assuming you have a similar team value, this would leave me with 0.6 million left in the bank. So you could upgrade Foster to Raya. This way you can have 2 starting goalkeepers and kind of have them rotate. That's all I have for you today. If you did enjoy this video, please make sure to hit that like button. Also subscribe to the channel if you're new to FPL Advice. Let me know in the comments what you think of this team and what you would do differently. Again, thank you, and until next time.